Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Psychology Eats. So, what's eating you? Well, today I am talking about the foster care system. But I am bringing you in to learn a little bit about the foster care system through the Crier family and the Prince family because their son, the son, Damon Jr., was placed in foster care when he was about 15 years old. So currently in the United States, there are over 400,000 children in the foster care system. Most of those children are African American. And so this subject is near and dear to sorry y'all. This subject is near and dear to my heart because I was a foster parent. My husband and I were foster parents for over 10 years, and we were blessed enough to adopt three children out of the foster care system. And so, I always wanted to adopt more kids, but with time and it just didn't work out. But I was able to be blessed to be their mom and be able to adopt three kids out of the system. I wish I could have adopted 20 out of the system. But anyway, getting back to David Jr. Did I say David? Damian Jr. So he ended up in foster care because there was a domestic violence incident at his home that he lived in with his mom. And I believe there were like 8 or 9 other children there. It was a family of 11. And so it was a blended family. So Damien was, a teenager. He said himself in his documentary that he was giving his mom and his stepdad a hard time, that there were a lot of arguments in the house. And this incident was not the first incident of aggression in the household between him and his stepfather. And so what happened was they had an incident, and the stepfather, it sounds like he was trying to defend himself against Damien and his brother who were attacking him. They were attacking each other. And the stepfather used a fork, like one of the big forks, and he punctured Damian Jr. Now, what happens when something like that happens, when a child is injured at the hands of an adult, automatically the adult is wrong. And so in the system, the way the system looks at it. And so as a result, for the safety of this minor child, he was removed from the home. Now, generally what happens is that the state does not want to take children from their parents. And so they work very hard in a lot of cases to keep families together. Better than they used to. They haven't always been that great at doing that. But I would say in the last 20 years, they're better. And so the goal is to keep families together. So what most likely happened was that mom had to make a choice between her husband and her children. And that's a difficult place to put any mother. Some of you are probably saying, no, it's not. I'll pick my kids over my man anytime. It's easier said than done. I think you got to look at Damian Jr. He admitted that he was a difficult child in the house as a teenager. He was not with his father. He didn't he didn't see his father like every day, and so that was some issue with that. And his dad was raising other children, according to him, and so he probably had some animosity with that. So mom had to make a decision between keeping my son here, or my sons, versus my husband, who was the father probably of these other kids, and separating him from the other kids. I've seen moms have to make this decision oftentimes when it comes to either their children or their spouse. Now, and it's an individual difficult decision to make. But mom sounds like she made that decision. Damian said he never returned home. He ended up going into foster care. He went to a temporary placement before his aunt could get her paperwork together, and that's who became his foster mom. And that is when he stayed there a year or so, and then he ended up getting emancipated. And that is when you go to a child at 17 will go to the court and say, you know what, I want to be my own grown up. I don't want any grown up to tell me what to do. I want to make my own choices. And so then he ended up leaving his aunts, and he went to live with his father. But at that time, he was emancipated and probably in his head thought he was grown. So if you look at the documentary, he really talks a lot about what it was like to go to Dad's house that he had not lived with before and probably didn't have a close relationship with him. And so then that is when they started to live together, and it was conflict in that living arrangement. Mostly because, according to him, there were other children there, and he just felt like his dad wasn't there for him. Now, move forward to today, I believe he has a decent relationship with his mom. I know I've been watching some of their old videos. He purchased his mom and his stepdad a house. And so that was about 3 years ago. So tell me in the comments if I'm missing anything. How's his relationship now with his mom? Now with his dad, they kind of go back and forth. Now some of it I've already said I think is completely staged. So some of the fighting, because I think the latest fight between them was about the little brother. It was one point with the little brother, Damian had ran away. It looked fake and staged, but Damian had ran away, and they went looking for him in the park or something. And Damian made a point that I believe was real. He said, you know, when I used to run away, nobody would come and look for me. And I felt that. Not because that had happened to me, but I felt his pain in that when he said that nobody had looked for him. And then Damian Sr. was watching that reaction video, and he said the same thing happened in his family system. That he was a runaway, and that nobody would look for him. And so it's interesting to see how history repeats itself, but also how these two men have grown and they're changing the dynamic of the family, because they did go and look for the little brother and comforted him and brought him back and all of that. So Damian Jr., I want to say about him too, is that he shows a lot of resilience. Even though that happened to him and he went into foster care, he came out of that system really grinding and wanted to be better and wanting to have a good life. And I think if he could reach back, now I don't know if he's done this, but if he ever saw this video, if somebody could share this video with him, I would love to see Damian, that you reach back to children in foster care. There are 400,000 children, most of which are little brown boys who look like you. If you can reach back to those boys and tell them you can make it, I did. You know, some of them don't have any parents that are going to come and look for them. But if they had someone like you, a big YouTuber, that can reach back and help those kids in any way that are in foster care, scared, worried, alone, I think that would be like a full circle moment for you. I don't know if you've done that already. If you have, kudos to you. If you haven't, please think about it, because I know you would make a big difference for those kids that are sitting and waiting in foster care. So that's it. That's all I have to say about this subject. Thank you. Please, guys, help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Help me spread the word about mental health and mental illness. Thank you.